You've been lied to. You were told that to truly exist, you had to be perfect, an expert, irreproachable. What if I told you that the greatest strength of your personal brand lies in your flaws? Forget everything you think you know. In the next 14 minutes, I'm not going to give you a list of generic tips. I'm going to tell you a story, inspired by real events, that will debunk 7 myths about personal branding and show you the only path that truly matters, the path of radical authenticity. Brace yourselves, because what you're about to discover could change everything. Chapter 1, The Myth of Perfection. Let me tell you about Leo. Leo could have been you, could have been me. A good guy, competent in his field, but invisible. On social media, he tried to play the game. He posted success quotes he'd pulled from the internet, slick, soulless photos, generic advice that rang hollow. He wanted to project the image of someone who had it all figured out, someone perfect. The result? A deafening silence. A few likes from his mom and best friend. He felt like an imposter, shouting into a digital void. The truth is, perfection is a lie. It's cold, distant, and no one can relate to it. By trying to be perfect, Leo was nobody. He was a copy of copies, a voiceless echo. Your personal brand doesn't begin when you look perfect. It begins when you dare to be real. And that's when everything changed for Leo. But that's just the beginning of the story. Let's move on to Chapter 2, The Power of the Unique. One evening, frustrated by his lack of results, Leo did something impulsive. He took a picture of an old, rusty vise lying in his garage, an object his grandfather had left him. He posted the photo with a simple caption, "Some see rust. I see stories. Weekend project, bring it back to life." There was no strategy, no expectation. Just an honest share of something he truly loved, tinkering, restoring old tools. The next morning, he woke up to about a dozen comments. Not generic great remarks. Questions. What brand of vise is that? I have the same one. How are you going to remove the rust? My dad had a workshop like that. It brings back so many memories. For the first time, he hadn't tried to please. He had simply shared a unique, almost quirky, side of himself. And it created a connection. The lesson is stark in its simplicity. Your superpower isn't in what makes you similar to others, but in what makes you singular. Your passion for philately, your obsession with rare plants, your knack for repairing antique watches. That's your gold. That's the starting point. The most important thing isn't just finding that passion, but knowing how to share it. Which brings us to Chapter 3, Radical Authenticity. Encouraged, Leo began documenting the vice's restoration. But he didn't just show the shiny, perfect end result. No. He filmed his grease-stained hands. He showed the stubborn screw, the frustration when a part wouldn't fit. He shared his doubts, his small victories, the process in all its raw truth. One day, he posted a video where he explained, dismayed, that he had over-tightened a part and it had snapped. He had to start all over again. He expected mockery. Instead, the comments exploded with support. It happens to the best of us. Thanks for showing it's not always easy. Your honesty is refreshing. He understood that authenticity isn't just about being yourself. It's about being yourself without a filter, with the doubts, the failures, and the imperfections. People don't connect with your success, they connect with your humanity. Your flaws aren't weaknesses, they're anchors for others. They're what make you credible and endearing. Trust isn't born from perfection, it's born from vulnerability. But be careful, being authentic doesn't mean being chaotic. And that's the subject of Chapter 4, Consistency, not repetition. At first, Leo only talked about technique, types of wire brushes, rust removers, polishing methods. Then he realized his brand wasn't just the guy who restores tools. It was deeper. By restoring these objects, he spoke of patience, of heritage, of respect for manual labor, of the beauty of what lasts in a disposable world. His personal brand became a constellation of values that orbited his central passion. He could talk about a 19th-century plane and link it to the idea of perseverance. He could show an old saw and philosophize about the importance of cutting through in life decisions. Consistency isn't about posting the same thing every day. It's about ensuring that everything you share, even on varied topics, is infused with the same core values. It's the common thread that connects all the dots and paints a clear picture of who you are and what you stand for. What is your constellation of values? And here's a mistake almost everyone makes. Chapter 5: Value Before Visibility. Leo's audience was growing, but slowly. A few hundred people, not thousands. The old Leo would have panicked, would have looked for techniques to hack the algorithm, to get more views. But the new Leo did the opposite. He focused 100% on this small community. He replied to every comment, personally. He asked questions. He created a small PDF guide on 10 mistakes to avoid when restoring your first tool and offered it for free to all his followers. He wasn't trying to be seen by millions, he was trying to be unforgettable to 100 people. And that changed everything. Those 100 people became his biggest fans. They talked about him to others. They shared his posts with passion. Lesson: stop chasing visibility at all costs. Visibility is a consequence, not a goal. The goal is value. Serve a small audience with obsessive generosity and quality, and that audience will build a kingdom for you. An engaged community of 100 people has more power than 10,000 passive followers. Always. Now, how do you turn that value into something memorable? That's the secret of Chapter 6, Story is Your Currency. Leo understood that people liked the technique, but they fell in love with the stories. Every tool he found at a flea market had a past. He started researching. He contacted experts, scoured old catalogs. One day, he restored a magnificent rosewood plane. He discovered it had been crafted by a cabinetmaker from Lyon in the early 20th century. He didn't just post a before/after photo. He told the story of that artisan. He imagined the furniture that plane might have shaped, the hands that had held it. He transformed an inanimate object into a character, a witness to time. People don't buy a product, they don't simply endorse a skill. They buy into a story. Your personal brand is the narrative you build. What hidden stories lie within what you do? Learn to find them and tell them. That's what transforms information into emotion. And emotion is the cement of loyalty. We've reached the climax, the moment where all these efforts converge. Chapter 7: Natural Amplification. Leo never paid for advertising. He never contacted journalists. He stayed in his garage, focused on his passion, his community, and his stories. And then, one day, a modern miracle happened. One of his followers, moved by the story of the lion plane, shared it in a genealogy group. The message made its way to a man who turned out to be the cabinetmaker's great-grandson. The emotion was immense. The story went viral among wood artisans. A specialized magazine contacted Leo to do a feature on him. Not because he had a huge audience, but because he had an incredible story and a community that championed it. The best promotion isn't the one you pay for, it's the one your community does for you, out of pure conviction. When you build a strong, authentic, and generous brand, you no longer need a megaphone. Your community becomes your army of ambassadors. They handle the amplification because your success has become a little bit of theirs. So, let's recap. Leo's journey has shown us 7 truths. 1. Forget perfection, it makes you invisible. 2. Your uniqueness, even the strangest parts, is your greatest asset. 3. Share your struggles, not just your successes, because vulnerability creates connection. 4. Define the values that underpin your passion to remain consistent. 5. Serve a small community with obsession, visibility will follow. 6. Don't share information, tell stories that create emotion. And 7, an engaged community is your most powerful growth lever. Building a strong personal brand isn't a matter of marketing strategy, it's a quest for personal alignment. It's about finding what uniquely makes you tick, sharing it with brutal honesty and unwavering generosity. Your brand isn't a logo or a slogan. It's the footprint you leave in people's hearts. It's the sum of all the connections you create. So, the question isn't what image do I want to project, but who am I really, and how can I share that to serve others? Find that answer, and you'll never be invisible again. Type "Go" in the comments if you want to launch your business. Don't forget to subscribe.